Hi, you're watching Video 101 and I'm John Crossman, and thanks for watching. In this segment we're going to end our top 10 list of technical characteristics of an effective editor. I hope you've gotten some value out of this list. And the last thing on the list is to be willing to spend the time to really become good at it. I think a lot of people are happy to settle for being, okay. They do video, they do editing, they do graphics, they do, blah, blah, blah. But editing is really where it comes all together. And so I think it's important that you have the mindset that you want to continually learn, new things, new techniques. I do a lot of graphics, and so a lot of my learning is in graphics and animation. And I mean, from when I first started doing 3D animation to today is like having gone to a different solar system. I mean, it's amazing. And there are things that have kind of, left me by the wayside because I didn't, or I didn't probably have the time to go down that way. But I use stuff that I learned along the way every single day, and I'm always interested. I'll see something and I'll go, well, how would I build that effect? And if I have time, I'll play with it and try to do that. You should always be watching to see what other people are doing and as inspiration. And I know I have a personal bias towards doing something that I've already done again, and I see that limiting belief in myself, and so sometimes I can let go of it and go, hey, I know if I do it, I know if I do this, it will work because it worked before. But the key is to have that mindset of always learning and always being open to learning new things. I mean, I suggested earlier in this list that you pick a software and learn it. And that's just because the more time you have invested in a software, if you pick the right software, then the more, the better you are at it. And it saves you time, it saves your clients time, and, you can learn all of these programs, I mean, Photoshop, After Effects, they all keep coming out with new versions, and that's fine. But I mean, the only thing I use in Photoshop is what I need to do my video work. I don't retouch photographs, which was the whole reason that the thing started. And now, it's gotten so complicated that Adobe has, Photoshop Essentials that basically dumbs it back down to just dealing with photographs or Lightroom or whatever. And so, but I learn new things in Photoshop and, buy books and watch tutorials and all that all the time. And so, I strongly suggest that you have that kind of mindset to keep learning. There are marvelous resources on the web. Adobe has good learning. There's A&E Scripts, there's Tool Farm, there's, Red Giant, there's Boris Effects. There's all kinds of things. One of my favorite websites is videocopilot.net, and Andrew Kramer. I mean, he is amazing at how he takes, the same tools that I have sitting on my desk and makes Star Trek out of them. He's done amazing stuff, and he does it at a high level for, Star Wars. I mean, he's been involved in some tremendously successful projects, and he's very approachable and very easy to listen to and watch. And so I'll if I have some time, I'll just go and see what his newest tutorial is and watch that. So I invite you to have that mindset. It will really make your life and your work interesting and fulfilling. It certainly has mine. I don't know everything. I never will know anything. And I know I never will know everything. And so that's what kind of makes it exciting, that there's always something to learn. And I think that's a factor in my success in my over 30-year career in editing. Started pretty modestly, cutting news in a relatively small news department. I was the first video editor they hired because up until that time they were shooting on film, and they do one story, maybe two stories a day. And video, the ability to shoot and edit video without having to process footage, really opened the door to what news has become as far as the amount of video. I mean, it went from, two stories and some overroll to now every, story on the local news has a package that's been edited. And I'm not saying they're edited greatly, but I've been fortunate to come up in a time when so much has changed in the video marketplace, and there's been so much to learn, and there's been so much growth, and I think it's going to continue. The thing that I don't like is, because it's become so ubiquitous, it also has become a commodity, and that's just the nature of the way the world works. Anything that's everywhere becomes less valued. And so my point is, if you really like editing, which I do, and I also like effects and I like doing graphics, but I mean, if I could only choose one, I'd probably choose editing, because I love putting the pieces together and making it more than the sum of the parts. And so that's what I've striven to do ever since I first edited. Cuts on 3/4 inch equipment that sounded like, the train was coming into town as it clicked and clacked and, did its 5-second pre-roll. I never thought of that as a limitation, and every time I learn something new, there are things that I see that I can't do yet, and I hope someday I'll be able to do them. But that's what I'd like to instill in this last point, is that you be a lifelong learner and you really strive for excellence in everything that you do, because life is much more interesting than if you're just trying to get by. So I'm John Crossman, and thank you for coming and watching this segment on Video 101. There's lots of other content on the website. If you're interested in a career, a couple different ways you can get started. If you wonder a little bit about more detail about, to me, what makes a good editor an editor, what I would call, the natural capabilities, there's a series of videos on that, as well as just explaining, how video production works and what the process and what the steps are and how those steps impact what the cost is. The thing you will get constantly throughout your career that I still get to this day is, well, how much will it cost? And so I've tried to provide some answers to those questions on this website. I appreciate you watching. My name is John Crossman, and we'll see you next time.